Family, is Providence. Thanks for tuning in. AllStar JR's gotten himself into some serious trouble that he didn't go looking for, but nonetheless found him. Now, the entire internet basically agreed that AllStar JR was in the right to defend himself after Ben 10 and others tried to rob him of his chains. However, the FBI is not letting that rock. They dropped evidence, pictures from surveillance that was taken that showed AllStar JR standing over Ben 10, at which point self-defense becomes questionable. And it also is the case that AllStar JR is a former felon, and so he was not supposed to be in possession of a handgun, period. And so the feds dropped a charge on him for this. He was on his way to do a DJ Vlad interview, which in and of itself is ironic because they're gonna say Vlad snitched on him, Vlad the feds, but ultimately they had enough evidence from what they had from the surveillance camera, and they looked at the fact that he was posting online about the shooting and took several of his social media posts and rap videos that he made as evidence that he did what he did and that he had a gun when he was not supposed to be in possession of a gun. So he self-snitched, probably was on the way to Vlad TV to also snitch on himself, and the Fed scooped him up and gave him a charge. More charges are likely coming because it will probably be an attempted murder charge, because they're going to argue that self-defense ended the moment that Ben 10 was neutralized, and he should not have stood over Ben 10 and tried to shoot him. The United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Texas, put out an official press release. Alleged shooter who posted videos on social media faces federal charges. It will say Ford, who is AllStar JR, allegedly possessed a handgun during a shooting April 8th at a restaurant on Kirby Drive in Houston. According to the criminal complaint, authorities responded to reports of a shooting in progress and discovered 2 gunshot victims at the scene. Court documents allege gunfire also struck a third person. The charges allege Ford was involved in a confrontation with several individuals inside the restaurant, during which a handgun fell to the floor. Ford picked it up and began firing as people fled, according to the allegations. He allegedly continued shooting as individuals ran towards an elevator but returned to where one victim lay motionless on the ground and fired additional rounds into the individual. So they're saying he left and then came back and continued to shoot Ben 10. Law enforcement located a handgun Ford allegedly hid at the scene before fleeing, according to the charges. The complaint also alleges Ford later posted multiple videos on social media, self-snitching, referencing and taunting individuals. Now, they didn't say self-snitching, I added that, involved in the altercation, and released a music video that referred to the shooting. Court documents further allege Ford has a prior felony conviction. As such, federal law prohibits him from possessing a firearm or ammunition. If convicted of these charges, Ford faces up to 15 years in federal prison and a possible $250,000 maximum fine. The FBI conducted the investigation with assistance of Houston police, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I have a couple of things to say about this. Oftentimes, what the people think and what the law is can be 2 totally different things. I'm not gonna lie, I've often said to myself that self-defense laws are always super hazy. I never fully understand them, and some states have different things like stand your ground law, etc., which kind of confuses things a little bit more. Like New York has some really lazy, like extreme, self-defense laws where you can basically barely defend yourself. You can't even own a gun, and other states have different things. And so it's always been this weird thing for me. The feds are going to have issue with the fact that AllStar JR stood over Ben 10 and fired as if he were trying to execute Ben 10. They're going to say that self-defense ended when Ben 10 was on the ground and the other individuals were neutralized, and AllStar JR reportedly returned to try to finish off Ben 10. I understand that, and I think that in a lot of ways that makes sense, but I've always thought to myself, I don't know that just because someone's on the ground that means they're no longer a threat. I just always ask the question of when do you know that a threat has been truly neutralized. When do you know that? Well, because Ben 10 was no longer attacking you and was on the ground, does that mean a threat has been neutralized? What if Ben 10 pulls out another gun? What if Ben 10 grabs his phone, calls his homies? I don't know. What if Ben 10 finds enough strength to get up, go to the car, grab another gun and come back? You know what I mean? So I've always wondered, like, how do you ever really know that you're out of danger so that self-defense is no longer an option for you, or you can't really hide behind self-defense unless, you know, if you continue to exert force in the situation? It's always never been clear to me, to be quite honest with you. I personally land on the side of, once you get attacked and somebody has a gun, you got to do whatever it takes to end that situation, because I think that, and I'm not advocating for anybody to get murdered or killed or anything like that. I am not a bloodthirsty individual. I promise you that much. I hate violence just as much as the next man, but I think that oftentimes, I don't know if the law takes into consideration that if you let somebody go, if you leave the situation, I don't ever want to even give a chance for somebody to come back at me later, for somebody to spin later on me. I'm all for completely eradicating a threat, bro. That's how I've always looked at it. And I'm never convinced that just because somebody's on the ground bleeding, that the threat is done. And then you're in a fearful mode. You've had multiple people attack you. A gun is on the ground. You're trying to get rid of any and everybody in that situation. You're just trying to survive. But the law is the law. But I, for one, if I imagine myself in that situation, I get somebody down, I could see myself trying to take them out. I'm sorry. You know, because at the end of the day, I want the threat completely gone. Why did you attack me? At that point, it's on you. That's how I think. But I also think that AllStar JR made this difficult for himself by being a former felon. And I just need to, again, make the question, ask the question, how much evidence do you need to no longer be in the streets, to not be a street dude? Listen, man, when y'all in the streets, you guys are losing your rights left, right, and center. You end up in jail. It could end up dying. You lose your freedom. People could snitch on you. And then if you come out of prison, you've got priors. Now, if something happens, they stack your priors against you. You can't even be in possession of a weapon to defend yourself. I mean, come on, dog. Now, I know people in the streets, they don't care. They're going to carry around a weapon regardless. But you cannot legally use one. And I just feel like, bro, to dedicate yourself to the streets is to sign up to lose your rights, lose your freedom, probably even lose your life. You have a Second Amendment right to defend yourself. And now the feds was able to snatch up AllStar JR just because he's a prior felon and he shouldn't have even had a gun to defend himself. So now the technicality of whether or not he should have shot Ben 10, all that doesn't even matter because he's a felon. He shouldn't have had a gun. And I just think, come on, man. I'm literally confused at why street dudes continue to be street dudes. Like, the whole system is set up for you guys to just be perpetually in prison, so that even if you find yourself in a situation to where you are legally correct in defending yourself, well, they're going to look at the fact that you got priors and now you cooked. Why would anybody sign up to be in the streets, man? Leave the streets alone, man. And then to make it worse, this dude decides to go on social media knowing he was a felon, knowing that he shouldn't have been in possession of a firearm, and begins to brag, make social media statements about what he was doing, how he was standing over Ben 10, produced a video, and all of that is self-snitching. I mean, it's confusing. In my last video, I told this dude, man, getting online to aggravate the situation isn't good because you're just inciting more violence. But I didn't even think about the fact that you're inciting the feds to come after you with your self-snitching. I mean, this stuff is just not smart. And once again, we see evidence of y'all rappers, y'all street dudes not using your brain. Now, maybe AllStar JR will beat this. Hopefully he finds a good lawyer, can find some wiggle room, but they got him dead to rights with a gun in his hand, and he shouldn't have had one. And so even if the self-defense thing isn't an issue, they got him on the low-hanging fruit. And that's oftentimes all the feds want. We'll get you on the low-hanging fruit. Even if somehow you make self-defense stick, we'll get you on the fact that you shouldn't have had a gun. So now AllStar JR, who was minding his business, getting food, is likely finna be going to prison. Anyway, guys, it's been Providence sharing my thoughts on this. You guys let me know what you think, man. Hit the comment section. You think this is right? Do you feel like AllStar JR was defending himself? Did he cross the line? Was he no longer defending himself when he stepped over Ben 10 and basically essentially tried to execute him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's Providence. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.